want to talk about combative mindset. So what is combative mindset? Well, it's what keeps us alive whenever we're faced with a life or death situation. I would say it's the wild animal part of us that we all carry, the survivor or the killer within us. So when we're faced with danger, we experience what's called adrenal stress or fight or flight. Now, at that point, quite a few things happen. Things such as the decrease of peripheral field of vision, leading to what we call tunnel vision, hyperventilation, increased heart rate, and obviously therefore in blood flow, the decrease in fine motor skills, decrease in decision making abilities, meaning that our cerebral activity moves from what's known as the neocortex to the limbic system, or better known as the reptilian brain. So the reptilian brain is associated with reflexes and instincts for survival, which is why it's impossible to make decisions at that particular state of consciousness. Now that's why gross motor skills work. They're efficient in any physical confrontation where your life really is at stake. So now that I've touched briefly on the effects of adrenal stress, the question is, can we cultivate a combative mindset? And if yes, how are we going to do it? Well, obviously, like anything, it's got to be trained, but before, you really need to understand it more before you train it. The best place to start looking is in nature. Now, I'm sure a lot of you watch David Attenborough programs and that, so we're going to look at animals and the intimidation techniques that they use in order to intimidate each other. You might have something like a gorilla banging the chest, the bear standing on the back legs growling, the bull scratching at the floor, or the frog pumping up his throat, or even an octopus spitting ink. Octopus knock off dickles. There's loads of things. So let's go back to intimidation tactics. The body language, the physical gestures, and the eye contact. Now, have you ever seen cat fights? You've got to have been looking out the window and seen cat fights. You usually see them keeping at a distance and they stare at each other for quite a long time, and they usually make these hissing, intimidating noises. Then all of a sudden you'll see one cat running at the other, and then the other cat doing a runner. Why is that then? So because you've got hard stare or eye contact, and then you've got noises, what we humans classify as verbal communication, including intimidating tone of voice and insults, the combative mindset of one cat has been broken down, and then that's why the other cat's running away, because in the mind of that cat, he or she, whatever it is, has already lost the fight before it even started. Now, in humans, a good one to look at is Mike Tyson, Iron Mike Tyson. Now, he always used to look at his opponent right in the eyes in order to intimidate him before the fight started. So, and they used to end up losing. So, it's clear that mindset is about 85%, and that the actual hard skills or technical combative skills are only 15%. So what we've got to train really is called emotional content. Now can't be mistaken with anger. Now anger blinds. Anger is a product of fear, while a combative mindset is a product of self-preservation. Now we can train in front of a mirror, trying to look mean or trying to look intimidating, trying to use the right intimidating words and stares. A lot of us tend to do this when we was younger. Well, I know I did. Not a lot of people, but some people did. There's two ways to deal with an assailant. Deal with him or her or them physically. deal with him or her or them psychologically. If you start thinking about what others could do to you, you've lost, because guess what? You've just given birth to fear. It really doesn't matter if the assailant is an ex-commando, an ex-para, ex-SAS, MMA fighter, or even a serial killer. Whether the attacker is a bigger predator than you is totally irrelevant at the actual point. And if you truly believe at that moment that you're a bigger predator than they are, you'll do everything to stay alive, and that will be your best chance of success. The goal really is not to give them the chance to show what they or she can do. Now, have you ever seen, sure you have, seen a boxing or a kickboxing match where one fighter's got the upper hand on, let's say, the first rounds, and then does a slight mistake and gets banged on the chin? Then the confidence drops because of a single mistake, or they get battered because of it. Now, the technical abilities as a fighter didn't drop. Only the combative mindset dropped. Well, realistically, it's the same in life or death situations. Your confidence drops, or if your confidence drops, you're as good as dead. As for how quickly you can access a mindset, there's something called the switch. Some refer it as the on-off switch, the animal mode, human mode, the reptilian brain, the neocortex. Now, here's a visualization exercise that's not for everyone, but it's for people who want to learn how to develop the combative mindset. Before we do that, I've got a little story. Some years back, somebody sent me a clip through Messenger or something like that of CCTV footage. Well, it weren't CCTV footage, it was like one of them baby cameras which was put on top of a fireplace in someone's living room, where there was a mother apparently alone with a child when a burglar suddenly broke into the house. Now, this burglar started savagely assaulting her, repeatedly punching her in the face. Now, at that time, the mother didn't defend herself. She was just getting a real bad beating. And when I say a bad beating, I mean the footage was probably one of the most vicious, brutal and shocking footages I've ever seen, in terms of someone going into someone's house. That is, I've seen worse, but I'm on about this. But the thing that gets me is, obviously the mum was lying on the floor, and looking at you thought she was unconscious, especially after the beating that she just got, but she really weren't. When the burglar's attention suddenly redirected towards a child, now I think the child was probably 2 or 3, something changed in that mother's mind. She started fighting back, and after a long confrontation against somebody that was at least 2.5 times heavier than she was, she actually finally managed to get the upper hand by stabbing him to death. That's what I mean by brutal. So obviously it's an extremely violent story, but it's a good bit of knowledge in when you're talking about this. So easy exercise. Obviously, like I said, it's not pleasant. It's not that bad, but some people might find it unpleasant. But it's necessary really in order to understand what combative mindset is, in order to know where the animal within you resides and how to use it. So I need you to close your eyes and start breathing through your mouth deeply and rapidly while you visualise while I'm talking. So just for a second, visualise you've just got back home from work. You open the door, and as you step into the living room, you notice blood on the floor, and shortly after that you can hear a cry coming from upstairs. Now you start to run up the staircase, and you find your dead wife or your dead husband on the floor in a pool of blood, with the last expression of horror on the face. Now You start running towards your only child's room. You open the door and you find this 6'5" bloke holding a 15-inch kitchen knife, smiling, walking towards you, your scared 3-year-old child. So at this point now, how do you feel? Do you feel afraid at all? What are you ready to do to save that child's life? Now, that feeling that you get, you've just embodied the animal within you. You know that you're going to fight until it's over. All I can say is train to be a great person, train to be a great partner, train to be a great parent, train to be a great sibling, a great friend, a great human being. But most of all, you should train to be the biggest predator on the planet. This is the substance of combative mindset.